For our final project, we are discussing the issue of gender discrimination in the science, technology, engineering, and math fields. Gender discrimination in the workplace is an ongoing issue that affects a large number of female professionals, especially in STEM fields. This discrimination ranges from unequal pay for women compared to men of the same experience in education, sexual harassment and assault for male coworkers, and less opportunities for career advancement. These hardships that women in the STEM field experience can lead to negative emotional and work-related outcomes, including stereotype threat and lack of retention. We believe that this topic is so important for many reasons. First and foremost, the pursuit of happiness is a fundamental right established in the Declaration of Independence. Every human has the right to freely pursue joy and live life in a way that makes them happy. But it appears as though women in STEM fields are not accessing their full potential in the pursuit of happiness because of many discriminatory motives. According to Chris DeWeld and Sandra L. Larson and, quote, The Glass Obstacle Course, they discovered sad norms for the daily life of women in STEM, such as harassment and being disregarded, which contributed to the women's senses of not belonging and leading them to want to leave the STEM field. Here are just some of the norms that women in the STEM workforce have to deal with. Even today, the pay gap for women is alive and well in all jobs. In 2003, women in STEM earned 78.7% of men's pay. This has decreased since 1995. Philip Royals mentions two reasons why there is such a difference in pay: human capital, that is differences in education and job experience, and the labor market structure. If these do not come into play, then the blame is put on the employer discrimination. Royals does research on pay on 22,081 chemists. Of these, 78% are male and 22% are female, all ranging in ages of 21 to 69. To best look at the difference in pay, Royals uses techniques which basically just looks at the productive characteristics, like education and experience, and the pay they get for them. If two individuals have the same characteristics but one gets paid more, there's discrimination. It was found that 83% of the earnings were explained by differences in productive characteristics, but the other 17% were due to employer discrimination. It was found that the education and experience were the main reasons for the pay gap, as well as women likely holding lower paying chemistry positions, which in itself is a problem. Most STEM fields, especially at the PhD level, are old boys clubs. This term is used by both men and women to describe their laboratories, research groups, and departments. Membership to these clubs is considered valuable and obtained through informal social interactions. Quote, Men generally did not have to worry about whether they would be invited for coffee, beer, and other social events. They are already and always in. Women were not automatically granted the buddy status that let them in and provided important information, unquote. Additionally, how these club members were supposed to dress and act did not contain any feminine qualities at all. A woman in the article who attended a conference for engineers felt she was not taken seriously because she did not dress like a normal engineer and was too feminine. Exclusion from these information-rich networks can create barriers for women's success in STEM careers, including obtaining recommendation letters and career advice from peers. Stereotype threat impacts performance on any task where a stereotype is evoked. This often fake threat impacts our performance and then reinforces the belief that the stereotype is real. This threat can put increased pressure on students pursuing STEM careers and even lower the retention rates in difficult STEM fields. In Chapter 5 of our textbook, Gender and Diversity in STEM, there's an example of a study on stereotype threat related to gender in advertisements in science. Men were shown with the latest and fastest equipment or depicted as a scientific expert or hero, while women were shown either displaying the equipment or paired with, quote, easy-to-use machines. The main stereotype that exists in these scientific advertisements is the superiority of white male scientists. Women who see advertisements or TV shows that reinforce stereotypes like male superiority in STEM rate their abilities to succeed in such careers as significantly low and have decreased interest in pursuing a career related to STEM. Quote, A hostile work environment is not only harmful to productivity and psychological well-being, but reduces job satisfaction and increases job turnover, unquote. The majority of participants in this survey, around 72%, witnessed or were told about instances of inappropriate comments being made towards women by colleagues. 62% of participants reported that they had been personally and sexually harassed at work, and over 20% had been sexually assaulted. Female participants revealed that the majority of targets for sexual harassment and assault were trainees or employees on the scientific field site and were targeted by their superiors. Many workplaces do have zero-tolerance policies for sexual harassment, but these policies rarely have enforcement and reporting mechanisms behind them to help create safe spaces for victims to come forward and have their actions kept confidential. Quote, "Fear of reprisal was the primary reason for not reporting rape among a national study of U.S. women," unquote. This all needs to change. Our suggested intervention is an anonymous reporting system in offices or other employee environments implemented by employers or supported by both management and human resources. This way, when an incident of harassment or assault occurs, there is no requirement for victims to self-identify, nor is there an issue of requiring victims to face the person who harassed or assaulted them. Not only would this system support victims in cases of harassment or assault, but also in instances where there is a pattern of this behavior. Self-identification would be optional, and the company's human resources department would be able to follow up with those identified in reports, victims, those implemented in incidents, witnesses, and anyone else's name. This differs from what is already implemented because there is no requirement for victims to identify themselves, nor for victims to directly face the person who hurt them. This becomes optional in this case. Thank you for listening to our presentation on gender discrimination in STEM workplaces. We hope you learned something important.